And we are live. Welcome back, everybody, to the next episode. I was about to say episode, people. Episode. Welcome back to the next episode.
Say it.
Yeah, I don't know. The next episode of After Hours. I am iDizzy81, and I'm once again joined with my co-hosts over here. I'll let them go ahead and introduce themselves.
Am I going
Ladies first, Panda.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm Panda. As always.
Hi, Panda. Panda. Hashtag more Panda.
Hashtag Indie Queen.
Yes.
Hashtag Indie Queen.
My turn.
I mean, I guess.
I
suppose
co-host
you
up
can go
in
next.
here. Jesus Christ, damn.
It's just
I
me and Lord
suppose.
Zero here. I'm just chilling, gaming as usual, having fun, kicking back, and what's going on with the show?
Right on. And today, or actually I should say tonight, today for her, but tonight for us, we have one of my closest friends here in the gaming sphere, in the gaming community, somebody that has been there by my side. We've worked together. She's gone on to do fantastic ventures and work on a couple of things herself, including some voiceover work, correct?
Indeed.
Voiceover work. So, Bella, who hasn't heard of you?
You know what? There are some people. Evidently, there's a few billion of them out there. So I'm Bella Rise. I am the editor-in-chief and director of the Real Game Media Network. I'm also the clan leader of the MLG Awesome Clan, and I am the brand manager of the indie development studio Cerulean LLC.
Look at that lineup. That's a list. Is everybody caught up on Game of Thrones?
No, and if you spoil it, I swear to God, I will kill you with a spoon.
Have you at least watched a couple of episodes into this season?
No, not yet. Again, spoil.
No, not yet. Oh, I can't make the Jon Snow reference.
That's because you know nothing.
Really blows.
You get
Well,
that
then stop
reference?
it.
Yeah.
You know, he does know nothing. It was a brilliant lead up, but I'll leave it at that because we don't want to spoil anything like those individuals who are spoiling. You know, the latest episode, I just finished it 2 days ago, watched it, and the ending for me was actually spoiled. Somebody took the clip of the ending and they put it on Facebook, but they didn't title it for Game of Thrones. So here I am with my dumbass, just
trolls.
scrolling through, and a video just like starts playing and everything. I was like, what's this movie? I've never seen this before. And next thing I know, I see The Hound, and I was like, oh my God, I just fucked myself. So yeah, the ending was...
I've never seen this movie before.
It's exactly what I thought. I was like, I've never seen this. This looks great. So
So like that time last year when it was my birthday and the recent season of Walking Dead had just finished, and one of my friends for my birthday had downloaded every single episode from that season because I don't watch them week to week. I got to binge watch that stuff. So for my birthday, he put it all on a USB for me and handed me the USB. And when I woke up on my birthday, I just like went up, had a shower, got back into my fluffiest pajamas, sat down, put the USB in my PC. I'm like, oh, you have a whole day of The Walking Dead. So now I get through the end of the first episode, and I'm like, oh my God, that was so epic. But it seems like there's a big time gap between the last season and this season. That mofo reversed the season, the episodes
He
every
gave
single
you the
season.
wrong
I'd watch,
season.
yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my
I'd watch the
Lord.
watch the last episode of the new season first. I was gutted.
Ain't that the absolute worst? And it seems like that it's only getting worse and worse and worse. And then you had that group that they was it a couple days ago? It's the same group that took down HBO and got all the info on that is actually the same ones that hacked into PlayStation's social media. That happened a couple of days ago. Nothing too big so far that we know of. There may have been a breach, but
not like
not
it's
really
a
sure.
big effort to hack into Sony's infrastructure, apparently. But
right.
yeah.
I mean, it's not a big surprise. It's like everybody and their mother seems to be getting up in that.
I love you, Sony.
But they didn't
Love
do
my credit card
anything.
more.
Yeah, right? They didn't do anything too detrimental, like on their Facebook or their Twitter. But it didn't take them very long to get all the stuff back and everything. So who knows how deep that went and whatnot. Um, Zero, you were complaining about some things earlier.
About what? I complain about a lot of things.
I was
You
about
do.
to say, I mean, where are we going to start with this? We could be here all damn night.
Let's talk about some of the things that have been bothering you lately.
Oh, good lord.
Are we talking about the Conan thing or the Injustice thing? Or Panda
Just
giving me the
begin wherever
hands
you
on
want
Dead
to,
or
man.
Alive? We can talk about that too. I mean,
Go ahead. Go for it.
well, we can do the Conan thing later because I know we're going to talk a little bit about survival games. Earlier today, I think at like 6 a.m. Eastern, Injustice. Well, NetherRealm revealed the Fighter Pack 2 trailer for Injustice 2, and they did the one thing that the fans told them not to do, and that was put yet another Mortal Kombat game, another Mortal Kombat character, pardon me, in a DC Universe game. So needless to say, people are really pissed. And it's the first time in quite a while I've seen a lot of flack. And it's kind of funny because NetherRealm likes to pride themselves, and they say all the time that they listen to their fans and they take fan feedback and everything. And I feel that they do, and a lot of fans feel lied to and jaded over the whole rating thing, which I can understand, but at the same time don't think they should, because it was kind of hinted at that he was coming before with the silhouettes and everything. And I feel like that the whole involvement of rating kind of stinks of WB altogether for me. But yeah, there's that, and then there's, like I said, the Conan thing, but we can go into that later when we talk about the survival stuff. Other than that, there hasn't really been too much.
Is it mainly because it's Raiden? Like,
well, the thing
whenever
is,
I look at it, like from an outsider's perspective, because I don't play Injustice. Cool game. I like that they have a really intricate story and everything. I did watch all of it through YouTube. Sue me for doing that, but I'm not. I don't get interested in fighters, but the story was compelling. It was interesting that they brought Sub-Zero, and of course, a lot of people, they didn't like that. Is it because it's Raiden, or is it just because it's a Mortal Kombat thing? To me, on an outside looking in, I just feel that Raiden kind of looks out of place, because I feel like that they could have brought a electric DC character in, and they could have. If you were going to bring in a Mortal Kombat character, why? And you already brought in Sub-Zero, why are we holding out like Scorpion or Reptile or one of the other ninja clans?
Because a handful of people on a leaky boat are going to save the world. Exactly.
I think the issue that the fan base is having right now is that when people bought Injustice 2, they bought Injustice 2 to play the DC superheroes and supervillains, right? It's the same reason they bought the first Injustice. And NetherRealm back then got backlash for having Scorpion in there, even though Scorpion is the most popular Mortal Kombat character ever. And people are just disappointed that there's 2 slots on that roster for Injustice, a superhero, supervillain game, that could have been taken up by other DC, characters. Such as like me personally, I would like to see Beast Boy instead of Raiden, right? But there are other people who like to see something like another electric character, like you said, Static Shock, who has been leaked to have actually been fully designed and modeled into the game, but they decided to replace him for Raiden. A change that people don't like. People forgave the whole Sub-Zero thing, sort of, because they thought it was only going to be the one character, right?
Yeah.
And then the other issue with Fighter Pack 2 is not only is it Raiden in there, but it's also Hellboy in there. And the thing, people don't have a problem with Hellboy. Hellboy's cool, right? But the issue is that is a fighter pack where there's only one DC character in a DC fighting game. That's not cool.
Yeah, there was only 3, and I thought it was interesting Hellboy was in there, because, from the movies, you would almost assume that he is a Marvel character.
Well, Hellboy's a great addition. Nobody really has a problem with him. The only people upset about that are the people who wanted Spawn, right? But Spawn's
Right.
been pretty much confirmed for the third pack, so they're gonna get him. It's just people being impatient about it. Hellboy's fine, but like I said, it's just 2 guest characters taking up 2 slots that actual DC characters could have been in. So
Mhm.
I think people are rightly justified to be annoyed about it. But at the same time, like I said, forever ago, they showed the silhouettes, and you could tell plain as day that was going to be Raiden. So at the same, on that same token, I don't know what people expected.
Right.
So it's just a weird
Who
subject.
who in place would have rather have seen in this one?
If we're talking about any character in DC that I would have wanted, I would have rather had Beast Boy because he's my favorite DC character ever. But if they wanted to go with another Electric character, they could have done his modeled in there, or they could have gone with his own show suit. So that would have made more sense to me. And the other thing is, not only is the Raiden taking up another spot, but if you want to play Raiden, Mortal Kombat is out on the same gen systems. So it's not like he's not already in a game. So it's just weird.
Dizzy straight up forgot to put his own phone on silent. Damn.
I never put that thing on silent because when I do, it starts to like make little rattlesnake sounds and everything. This is Texas after all.
Snake sounds.
This is
So
true.
I'll
This is
go ahead
true. Yeah, somebody has
Okay,
crickets.
so to me, it just sounds like a bunch of nerds are really upset about the comic books and everything not being in there, right? Is that about right?
Dale and
Sort
his
of, yeah.
crickets, they're all chirping up in the background. And they're all like, yo, bro, we hear
I'll
you.
close the window. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But my only question for Fighter Pack 2 is they didn't really touch on it. I wonder if Ron Perlman's going to voice Hellboy, though. That's my only question. That's all I care about from the movie.
That wouldn't be bad. That wouldn't be bad.
No.
I'd
Let me
be
take care of that window. Hold on.
Creating like the swamp thing, all these crickets.
Bella is about to go get a lizard herself and send her after Dale from the crickets that are in the background.
Close that back door, dude. Damn.
She said, where are those coming from? I was like, Dale lives in a lizard
A
cage,
swamp?
and sometimes he needs to feed his
Hey.
lizards.
Hey. Are the
Hey,
crickets
I have a
gone?
reptile
Everything
in
good?
my house. You ain't hearing no crickets.
And that's actually pretty straightforward. She is in Australia, so everything there is trying to kill her because they're venomous. From the human to whatever reptile is in front of you.
That's very
So,
true. There's sometimes where Bella will put a picture up of like this big spider up in her house and shit, and I'm like, whoa.
Nope. So much nope.
Oh, come on, Fred's okay. As long as Fred stays downstairs. And the 2 rules I have when Fred, and any spider that comes in to my house that its circumference is larger than 4 inches, it stays alive, and I name it Fred. And Fred now is a pet because Fred is too big to kill, because if you kill Fred, it's a big squish and it's a lot of mess. So
Essentially,
Fred now
what she
becomes a
said.
household pet. And yeah, Fred is allowed
Nope.
downstairs.
I'd just be like,
But he
set it
has
on fire.
restrictions to where he's allowed. He's not allowed above the shower. He's not allowed in my bedroom. He's not allowed above where I play video games. And he's not allowed in the toilet. Apart from that,
So
if he
Fred
stays
just
anywhere else in the
up and
house, we're
moved into
cool.
your house and said, "I'm moving in," and you said, "All right, I'm not gonna fight. Just here are the rules,
I
please."
mean, are you going to argue with that? You tell me you're going to argue with that? I mean, this isn't Texas,
No.
son. We don't run around with pistols on our hip, right? We're going to have a license for that shit.
Like, light it on fire.
Light it on fire. Just burn the whole place. Burn the establishment down. All right. First of
Yeah,
all,
that would be me.
Anarchy.
I'd just be like, burn the house down. There's
Burn it all.
Just
When you
fire it
have
out.
2 cats
We have
2
wolf spiders and
Australian
it's bad
cats
enough.
that look at you and they're like, like, okay, well, I'm on my own.
Well. So the other thing that you were complaining about, actually, I can go halves on in with this because despite like if you're ever in the conversations that you see with Zero and myself, it almost sounds like that we're like really button heads over like certain situations and everything. And one of the recent ones was Conan. Conan Exiles. It recently was released in the game preview. I actually think it was just last week that it was released in game preview. Oh my God, awful. Especially for the beginning of a game preview. It's definitely not the way that they want to start out. Essentially, it's unplayable. There's some people that can play the game, and even then it's very unplayable, but there are some people that just cannot actually absolutely play the game. So for half the week, Zero's telling me I can't play the game, and I'm like, fuck you, I can log in. I don't know what you're talking about. And about halfway through that week, it kind of like bugged out on me as well. So they put an update yesterday, and I half jokingly said, great, Funcom just screwed up Xbox Live with their update because it had taken so long. They failed certification twice. Certification, if you aren't familiar with Xbox certification, it is very strenuous. They won't let anything past if they think that it's going to mess up with their baby. Whereas Sony likes to allow people to take their social media accounts, Xbox and Microsoft don't like that. So take that how that is. So update comes out, very unplayable again. Some people can get into it. Actually, Cal L earlier, he was like, yeah, he was telling me and two other people, like, yeah, man, I'm playing. Come on, come get in. We kept trying to log in into the server that he was in, and we kept getting dashboarded to the screen, home screen. We're like, what the hell? And of course, this is a repeated cycle. Dooku, which is the other gentleman that was trying to log into it, he tried for 3 hours before he finally said, you know what, I'm done with this, and he moved on. So yeah, it is very. Bella or Panda, have y'all been playing Exiles at all?
No.
There's no interest.
I have not, and there's a reason why I have not. And it's two words. I'm going to put a hashtag in front of it. Hashtag early access. I understand that this is going to have problems. I understand that this game has been in development for a long, long time. We've been watching it since the very first iteration of it released on Steam. This is an early access game, people. This is the whole reason why it's an early access game. This is a development studio. It doesn't have a great deal of resources behind it that are trying their very best to release something that they think is what we want and that we're going to enjoy. So yes, if you're going to enter into an early access game or a game preview version of a game, you need to expect that there are going to be issues with it. There are meant to be issues with it. And you're meant to find said issues and report them back to the development studio so that they can isolate these issues and work out whether they're a thing that's happening with the Xbox version or the Steam version, whether it happens to be a controller or a keyboard input, whether it's a QWERTY issue, all these different types of things, so that they can then work out what the resolution will be and implement that. That's the whole idea of a game being in game preview or early access. So yeah, you're going to have a rough time with it.
The only reason I haven't played it is because all I had to hear was baby arms, and I was like, yeah, I'm good.
So our whole concept, which is just amazing, might I add, was to everybody, like on the PC version and in the European version on the Xbox, you can make yourself very well endowed. So we were going to be the tribe of the baby armors, for obvious pervertic reasons and everything, to get everybody riled up on
I was not a part of this clan. I'm just putting that out there.
Bella's like, really, you guys?
So that somebody could say, why are you drawing pictures on the sand?
Shit never changes.
Yeah, so it definitely, you are 100% correct on that. It is early access, and that is something that everybody does need to keep in mind. However,
a lot of people lose vision of that, right? Like, we get into a game and we get so engrossed in it, right? We're so captivated by the game experience that we're having. We're so intrigued by this new world, the new battle system, the new weapon wheel, whatever it might be. And we love it so much. And then some shit goes wrong and it breaks our immersion and we get cranky as fuck over it. And that's understandable, right? But you cannot allow yourself to lose perspective of the fact that you're playing a game that isn't in its full version yet. This is either alpha or beta or early access or like the 37th iteration of the early access updates, whatever it might be. This game hasn't fully released yet. You're either playing it for free or you're playing at a very friggin' reduced price, which at the end of which, when it does come out in full, if you're playing through early access, you're only going to have paid like $6, if anything at all, and you get the full game at the end of the release. And that is the penance that you have to go through to be able to do that. You know what I mean? Like we as gamers, when we enter into these experiences, basically, and in quite very specific terms, do sign off to say, I am venturing into this experience knowing full well that this game is buggy as fuck. And I'm here to help you find these bugs because as a gamer, interacting with this development studio and the game that you're bringing out, my interest is to help deliver a more polished product. But unfortunately, a lot of us lose sight of that. We're just like, oh, yeah, I'll sign on for this. I'll sign on for this. And then you do. And then shit goes wrong. And everybody's bitching over social media and YouTube and everything about how this game is trash. No, it's not. It's early access. You signed up to say you know it's fucking broken. Oh, my God, it's broken?
Surprise, surprise.
It's a great game. Why is it broken?
And you know that's actually a really good point that you brought up, you know, because I always look at it like whenever we're talking about like the beta accesses and or like the stress tests on servers, and they make it very like I know that this was very big with Titanfall, was they said, hey, we want help to stress test the server. Obviously, they're not going to just like tell you like, hey, we all want you to log into this ISP at this time and see what goes on with the servers and everything, you know. So they boot up an old version of the game, not even a very current version of the game. They put it up there, and they're like, we want to stress test the servers, so we need as many people in here playing as you know, and doing all this stuff and everything. And more people are more focused about what's not in the beta than actually what the purpose of that was. So I 100% understand where you're coming from that. Dale, tell us about your Conan experience.
I completely agree with everything that Bella has said. I have said the exact same things when defending Ark. I have said the exact same things in defense of Subnautica and other games like that. The thing is, you can't do those things if most of the people can't start the game. And that's the problem. It's not that Conan's buggy. It's just that Conan doesn't work at all for a lot of people. And you can't hop into a game to help the developers fix it. And that's an issue. That's not cool.
But that's some primary feedback that they need, right? They need to be able to get that feedback from all these people. Instead of everybody bitching on social media about how they can't damn well connect, they need to let the developers know what they cannot connect on, what their ISP is, what kind of console they're playing on, what kind of platform they're on, so they can isolate these issues and fix it.
I get that, but this is the game just not running at all. This isn't like me saying, like, hey, the frame rate's weird and choppy, like there's some bugs. The game just doesn't work. And I refuse to believe that that's something that they couldn't have found out themselves.
Did you provide the developers with that feedback?
Of course. So did a lot of people. But the thing is, I mean, if you want people to try to play your game to work, well, to help you work on it, to suggest fixes and everything, at least make sure the game, you can play it.
Oh, look, and I completely agree with you on that. I think the other thing that a lot of people lose perspective of is we're not talking about Bethesda here. We're not talking about Bungie or 343 Industries. They're not going to roll a patch out overnight. This is a really small team with very limited resources. So just because we complain about one thing one week, it doesn't mean it's going to be fixed the next week. We also need to have realistic expectations about how long it's going to take them to pull this data together to work out where the issue is, what the resolution is, and how to implement it.
Absolutely, and I think that that's one thing that a lot of people who they do get involved with the early access with this one, they don't realize, because it's a very prominent thing for like Ark, and I know that a lot of the times people were really getting upset with Wildcard because they said like, hey, this is when we're going to deploy this patch, yada yada yada. which that means that's when they're going to submit the final build over to, or the patch per se, over to Microsoft, in which it has to go through the Microsoft certification, which can take a couple of hours to maybe a week. You know, if they find something that's in there, they may have to send it back, which I think with Wildcard, luckily, we didn't have a lot of those that would end up happening that got sent back or got denied, but it can happen and everything. And it's a long, strenuous process. And I think that the problem is people, they expect, because they're so used to this fast-paced world where everything is just at the, you know, the tip of their fingers, that if I'm not able to, you know, put this in and you're not able to get this up right now, I'm going to have a meltdown. In which, you know, that's actually you could definitely see that with a lot of people, you know, getting upset over not being able to turn on the game. I think I kind of like see both sides of this, because I do agree with Bella on the fact that, you know, it is early access and this is to be expected. I think that that's actually been part of the conversation that it looks like that Dale and I are about to come to blows and like start World War III over. But it's, you know, it is on both sides where, I mean, Funcom kind of has to get their shit together. Like they need to know that a game is not going to turn on. I don't see how you can't have the majority of the player base that actually purchased the game in the early access to help you get this game rolling. And, you know, you launch the game and you put out a patch and you still can't get these people to get into the game. They just can't boot it up. It's, you know, you turn on the game and it immediately goes to the dashboard. So they can't give that fair feedback other than the fact of like, hey, get the shit working so that we can actually get in the game to tell you what to do. So,
yeah,
you know, it's.
Look, I
definitely
do
see
understand
both.
Dale's perspective on that as well. Like, I get where you're coming from on that, and I think that I sort of attack that a little bit as ferociously as what I do from being in a few different indie development studios, where I see what they go through and how long it takes them to collect the data that they need to be able to work out what the issue is and implement it. And so I guess, I can see from both sides of the fence as well. And you're completely right, Dale. Like, I mean, if you're gonna offer early access to gamers, then it should at least be accessible, right? You should at least be able to access said early access. So yeah, I get your point of view.
I will say that the way, and Dizzy will probably agree with me on this, the way that Microsoft sent out that patch was absolutely retarded.
Oh, absolutely. Will you go ahead and explain?
It was so stupid.
That was
you explained it. I read like the first sentence and gave up. Just the way that lady explained it in customer service. Oh my lord! Wasn't it like the patch was? Yeah, go ahead.
They sent it out in batches, which how they determine the batch and who would be a part of what batch. I have a child that's just waking up, mind you. They sent it out in batches, and they didn't tell you what batch you're part of. So some people got the update and other people didn't. And Funcom really couldn't tell you, like, hey, what's going on, because Microsoft or an Xbox decided to take it upon themselves to, rather than flood the gates and have everybody jammed up and taking forever to download, you know, this update, which was happening quite often with Arc, where people would take days in order to download it because so many people are trying to get it at once. You know, they're like, okay, a little bit here and a little bit there. So some people have the update, some people do not. And I remember I was getting the update, and then, you know, Zero's telling me, like, well, I don't have the update. I'm like, what are you talking about? They sent it out already. You know, so
I reinstalled my game twice last night, like Funcom suggested, and I didn't get the patch until 3 or 4 p.m. this afternoon. That's ridiculous.
Well, it will roll out on different servers at different times. So there's that.
Yeah. I mean, I get the concept that Microsoft was going for why they were doing it. It's just execution was god awful.
Yeah. So I'm gathering that Dizzy is having to go on mute at the moment because Parker's going insane.
I did have to.
Damn it. He's going to talk about like actual important stuff in games, but okay.
I knew that she was going to try to sabotage something tonight, all right? So I had to run. Yeah. So another thing was going on this week.
He's a panel member now.
He is almost an honorary panel member. Shout out to Kid Smooth. We were on Planet Xbox. If you haven't seen my little clip of him deciding to take it upon himself to speak to the mic, it was actually
Hey,
a
he
pretty
wanted to talk
interesting
a lot
thing.
about 4K. Okay.
He did. He did. He
And
had a
I
lot to say
sometimes
about 4K.
understand the common sense that comes out of Parker's mouth more than I do Kid Smooth's. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Shots fired! Shots fired! No. Shout out to
I
Kid.
love
Shout out to
Jerry.
Kid.
Jerry's great. I
So,
particularly love the reviews he does of the games that he plays 8% of and reviews, and they're brilliant. Hashtag love you, Jerry.
So another thing happened this week was Gamescom, or it almost did anybody?
Did you say
happen to
another
catch-
great thing that happened this week was Gamescom? Was that the sentence you just said?
No, well, if I did, I meant another thing happened this week, which was Gamescom.
Okay.
If you're
I
into
guess I
that
was
sort of
lucky.
thing.
Dizzy thought it
But
was.
I was
anything
working
but
that
great.
day and didn't
Trust
watch
me.
it. I've heard a lot of things.
At first I thought I was watching a trailer or like a recap trailer to E3, but
Right.
then yeah.
And you could
So-
be forgiven for thinking that.
Right. So, what new things did we learn this year? How was Gamescom? Here's what I want you all to do, and what we're going in order. We're going to start with you, Panda. Gamescom 2017 was blank.
She just said she didn't watch, but yes,
No,
let's start.
hey,
And
well,
What did?
I watched some of it, and I watched about 2 hours of it, and it was everything that I kind of already knew.
Fair enough.
I was
So-
like,
so
okay, well,
Gamescom
here's some cool
2017.
things, like very minute cool things. What else is going on? And it's like, oh, nothing. From what I watched.
So Gamescom 2017 was blank to your expectations.
Yeah. I was hoping, I was at E3, and don't get me wrong, it was an excellent experience. I would definitely do it again if there wasn't that many people there again. But I was hoping that with Gamescom I would see something new, and I watched it for 2 hours, which is something that is really hard for me to do right now. I've been very busy with everything. And during that 2 hours I didn't see anything that really stood out. And I was like, okay, well, now what? I've been doing a lot of research on my own and finding out more things than what I found out in those 2 hours.
I think
Fair
I can
enough.
agree. So, Dale, for you, I was expecting blank at Gamescom 2017, and I received blank. You fill in the blanks.
Okay, teacher. I was expecting nothing because I went in with low expectations, and I received Jurassic World Extinction, which I thought was pretty damn cool, honestly.
So they'll receive something.
But what I will say, though,
You're like one
what
of
I
the
will
only
say,
people to
though-
receive something.
what I will say though is that it's pretty bad when the Gamescom shows only takeaway for me is a Jurassic World game. I'll put that out there. It was a very poor showing. I will admit that. It was pretty bad.
okay.
And so Bella, so your fill in the blank is I didn't attend Gamescom 2017 because I tried to smuggle blank from Australia.
Common sense. Let's fill the gap. I could try to smuggle common sense from Australia. However, what I did expect from Gamescom 2017 was the announcement that the pre-orders for the Xbox One X were available, and I got that. Plus, I also got a new trailer for Assassin's Creed Origins, Battlefront 2, Middle-earth Shadow of War, Jurassic Park Evolution, Final Fantasy XV Windows Edition,
Oh yeah.
Final Fantasy XV Pocket Edition,
That
Ruin
pocket
Up,
edition actually pretty cool.
The Sims 4 Cats and Dogs, Overwatch
Oh my
Junkertown,
gosh, yeah. The
FE,
Sims 4 stuff.
Life is Strange Before the Storm, Destiny 2, Age of Empires. Oh my God, shut up, Age of Empires. That trailer was insane. And then we have Gwent. No one gives a shit about Gwent. Let's move along. The Good Life and Lollipop. So yeah, I got a great deal out of Gamescom 2017.
Hold on,
I
let
have
me
to
get back
say-
on your level of excitement. Did you say cats and dogs for Sims 4?
Yes,
Yes,
what
I
are you
did.
talking about?
No way.
Yeah.
Dizzy, drop it. My wife was excited about that. Let it go.
Cats and dogs.
I can't say anything bad about it because the lady might be listening in and she'll probably come around the corner. Did you say cats and dogs for Sims 4? Oh shit.
Look, my
Spoke too loud.
sister-in-law is over the moon about this DLC for Sims 4, man. Like, you ask anybody,
That's your
seriously, like, I'm not into Sims, but you ask anybody who's, like, hella into Sims, like, oh my God, cats and dogs DLC,
Yeah.
blew my mind. I'm like, oh my God.
I
calm the
believe it.
fuck down.
I believe it.
I
Yeah,
think
no,
my
it's
favorite
super
I
thing
kicked
exciting.
it
about that
back.
whole thing was that you can see what they're thinking. I don't know why, but that just appealed to me so much because I look at my cat sometimes, and if anybody doesn't know, my cat's an asshole.
Poor Mushy.
And currently, right now, he's trying to turn off the computer, which I need to get him off the computer.
He's like, but Mummy, it's warm.
Yeah, the power button on this computer is on the top, so, and he loves to lay on the top of the computer, and he just likes to turn it off and sabotage everything. But
Unlike
I
my
do-
cats who like to lay behind my PlayStation 4 and wait until I've just gotten right towards the end of an epic 3-hour boss fight and then stretch out and pull the power cord out the back of. Yeah, that's all about it.
see, my cat knocked my when I first got my Xbox One because me and Swat were fighting over it. He knocked my Xbox One off the shelf by pulling the shelf out of the wall. By the way, he decided it was a good
That's a
idea to
strong
hang
cat.
off the shelf. Yeah, no, he's really heavy, and he thought that he was small enough to go and sit on the
Strong
shelf
and
that was
fat.
hanging out of.
Two
Yeah, he was.
different things.
He's not even fat. He's just huge. He's a Maine Coon, so he's huge. So he jumped up on this shelf and ripped my bookshelf off the wall that I had my Xbox sitting on and dented it, but it still works. Thank God. But no, I was actually at the PC gaming show whenever they announced Age of Empires, and the gasp from the audience was just
Would be
enormous.
Huge, yeah.
It was
that actually is.
awesome.
You know, they said that they were going to talk about something that they hadn't done in a while and everything, and I kind of guess I get where they're coming with that and everything. And actually, for me, that actually goes way back because it's one of the games that actually held me in the gaming community for quite a bit of time. I still remember being a strapping young lad, you know, brave and strong, sitting at the computer playing Age of Empires. You know, back in the day. So
yeah, that was totally dizzy.
it actually, I bought Age of Empires 2, I think it's Definitive Edition, a few years ago on Steam whenever it released, and it encouraged me to go play last night, and so I did, and I was like, yes, I still got it, and I ran out of gold and died. So came in third still, but that's not the point. Age of Empires, yes, HD, and then they also announced that they are working on Age of Empires 4. So
Yeah.
has anybody here who's excited about it?
I mean, I couldn't give two rat sacks about it, but I'm glad that other people are really happy about it. What I'm more concerned about is the 4 people who are sitting in the back of that conference. Are like, they're going to talk about nothing that we've heard about in a long time. It's got to be Half-Life. And man, those dudes' dreams were shattered.
Oh man, that would have been lovely to be a fly on the wall right next to him.
I'm kind of exactly in the same boat as with the Age of Empires as Bella. I mean, I never cared for the series, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah,
I
I'm on the
don't
same
know
page.
anything about it.
I mean, more power
Yeah,
to those.
but
who
I'm
do,
happy
right?
it's a
You
thing.
Enjoy the shit out of
Yeah.
it and everything, but yeah, it's not for me.
I know Swat was very excited.
Oh yeah,
good for Sweat.
it definitely got some excitement going for me. I'll
Yeah, but
definitely
I
be
was
picking
also
it up. I don't.
excited about the year 2 Galahorn DLC. Like, come on. I have nothing to gauge anything on.
Look, man, sometimes you just got to get like Hannibal and just go wreck a whole bunch of shit and everything. So, Age of Empires is the perfect opportunity to do that. They actually, speaking of RTSs and HD remakes and everything, the original StarCraft was just redone. I was reading something somewhere earlier about that. I might have to try to pull that up to talk about it later, but just kind of like a side note, I think that probably one of the more irritating things for a lot of people that were watching is everybody was expecting this big announcement. It's like, oh yeah, we got some things in the back pocket for E3, or not E3, Gamescom. They're like, just stay tuned, just stay tuned. And it turns out to be, Age of Empires, which, for people who are fans of the series, that's fantastic and everything. And for people who might be interested but are playing on console, they were kind of given the shaft with the fact that this is going to be a Windows 10 exclusive. Now, what that really means, are they considering the Xbox One X platform as a Windows 10 product?
It's not coming to console, bro. They've already clarified this.
And of course, they ended up having to go in and clarify that, but that was the big question around it. And so now you got a lot of people that are looking at it as, so there's Windows 10 exclusives, but Xbox is not allowed to have their exclusives, even though that they said that they're working on it. Which, I digress away from that. That I can live with that. I can see the argument for some people, but I can live with Age of Empires not going to console. No mouse and keyboard. However, what I found very interesting, which I'm a little bit more irritated about, is one of the things that they sold the Xbox One with and saying, well, we are working on mouse and keyboard support. In which, if they had mouse and keyboard support, you would have been able to bring this to, like, is it a streamlined thing though?
No,
because this has to be a game
They
base,
didn't
right?
say they were bringing mouse and keyboard support across the board. They just said they were working on mouse and keyboard support. And I can connect my mouse and keyboard to my Xbox One and surf the internet. Not a freaking problem at all. They have done what they said they would do. They were not specific about it, as Microsoft never is.
Okay. In which that actually clarifies a lot, because what ended up happening is we learned today that we will be getting mouse and keyboard support for Minecraft. I guess if you want to play it with the, on the console though.
I had always thought
I don't think I would have really expected it on the console myself.
Microsoft ecosystem, right? It's play anything, anywhere, anytime. If I can play on my PC on Windows 10 with a controller, why should I not be able to play on my Xbox One with a keyboard and mouse?
Which I agree. I feel like that there should be a streamlined kind of support where you're just not, subdued down to the whole line of, oh, I can surf the internet or I can play Minecraft now. I see a couple of opportunities, like Halo Wars 2 would definitely be an excellent opportunity for them to be able to incorporate that mouse and keyboard support, especially if you have people who that is cross-platform connected, right?
Cross-play.
Which, I mean, hotkeys and macros are an essential part of RTSs. I can't see a lot of console players actually.
I could be wrong on it though, but I think the only game mode on Halo Wars 2 that is crossplay though is the Blitz mode, where you have to use the cards anyway, so it's not really about strategical, placement of units as much.
Right. Okay. I guess I could see that, but still, I digress. They have a lot of an opportunity to integrate a little bit more of that, especially since we kind of know the direction that Microsoft has taken, whether they want to admit it or not or say aloud. We know the direction. It's not a bad thing, business wise. It makes a lot of sense. Fanboys hate it, and it does give a lot of other fanboys that have more ammunition to go yell at other fanboys, which makes them all look like a bunch of fanatics and everything. And I just stay on this side of the room, so whatever. So all in all, what grade should we give Gamescom 2017?
Well, it depends on what you're ranking it up against. Are we ranking it up against every other Gamescom? Are we ranking up against the fact that there was more of a Microsoft presence this year, that Sony had a booth, that Nintendo yet again, or a YouTube video? What criteria are we ranking this on?
I don't know.
It's like, Bella,
whatever you want to
just
rank it
shut up
on.
and give me a number.
You tell me what rank do you give Gamescom?
I'm going to give it a rank of I enjoyed it.
A rank if she enjoyed it. Okay. What about for you,
enough.
Sleep? Or 0? I give you 2 nicknames.
Either way, I don't care. If we're going off of the like the convention as a whole and everything that's been shown so far, off and on camera, I'm actually really digging it quite a lot, to be completely honest with you. Because even with the disappointment, but even with the controversy of like the Injustice news and all that stuff, that was still a hype thing to see. We've talked on here before about the whole renaissance of fighting games and all that stuff before. They've been pouring out all kinds of news for Dragon Ball FighterZ, and I am so excited for that game. And they have released so much in like the past 24 hours. I just can't help but be excited about Gamescom as a whole. Everything's just so good that I see so far, if I'm honest with you. It's good.
Okay. So he says it's good. And Miss Panda.
I didn't see much, so I can't really comment on it as a whole.
You got to give it a grade. I'm sorry, you're not leaving until you give it a grade.
No,
Well,
she doesn't have to. If she doesn't
I can't comment as a whole.
That's not the deal. Not my problem. Not my problem.
I can't comment as a whole, but
You just stay strong.
But from what I've seen, I wasn't excited. But after hearing you guys talk about it, I mean, there are some exciting things that are there. Not necessarily things that I'm excited about, but that's just me. I'm a big indie gamer. So I watch more indie game news than anything. And I watch a lot of I do a lot of more scary games. I don't know. I don't do a lot of the games that are at Gamescom. So from what I've seen so far, I do fighters, but I'm not a big fan of Dragon Ball.
Right.
So I don't know. For me, it wasn't that good so far from what I've seen. But I do have to agree with Bella on the whole pets on Sims thing. I haven't played Sims in such a long time.
That the cats and dogs are just winning them over.
Dizzy, sit down and let the woman speak.
But I mean, that is something that I'm excited about. I mean, it's something different. So, I've always liked the Tycoon games and I like the Sims games. So I just haven't played in a long time. But that's something that, honestly, as stupid as it may sound, I'm really excited for that, and it would make me buy this game. I'm not gonna lie.
It doesn't sound stupid to be excited for a game you like.
That's what makes the games industry amazing, right? Is that we all have our own unique tastes and interests.
Right. Like,
otherwise, it's boring as shit, and everybody'd still just be playing Halo. Oh my god! Could you imagine a world where everybody's just playing Halo?
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I mean, I've really, like, recently I've really gotten back into the whole fighting thing. I used to be really big into the competitions and everything for fighting.
Yeah, tell me about it.
If anybody doesn't know, I kicked Dell's ass on Dead or Alive.
She did. I heard it. It almost sounded like a really bad domestic dispute. And I heard about it.
But then I was like, all right, I've had enough of this. I immediately was like, I've had enough of this, because I taught Dale some things, and he actually was like, I taught Dale certain things in Dead or Alive, how to do it,
some broken hips, and she taught him some lessons.
Like how to use the left analog stick.
No, I taught him how to use the counters and the throws and how to juggle, kind of, not necessarily juggle, but not like in Injustice where he's more seasoned in. But I taught him certain things in Dead or Alive. That way, I mean, I don't mean this I mean this in the nicest way possible, but so that way I could actually play against him.
It so crap, I understand.
I taught him some things so that way he would be more of a worthy opponent, I guess.
Ain't that something?
And
She
then
said, "I'm gonna beat your ass, so the next time."
Because like literally, okay, the very first game that we played, let me give you a perspective. The very first game that we played, I beat him in like 10 seconds.
Yeah, I will not deny this.
And I was like, okay, it's been a while since he's played, obviously. If he's and so I taught him how to use counters and stuff, and there were some things that I kind of forgot and we kind of figured out together. And then I was like, okay, let's switch over to Injustice so you can kick my ass now, because I have no idea what I'm doing in that. I just picked it up. So and then I was able to learn some stuff too, so that's good, because he really like destroyed me in Injustice.
Well, that's the magic of fighting games, isn't it? Like, that's why I don't mind you like saying you whooped my ass. I'm not going to deny that, but the magic of fighting games is playing with friends and learning from one another, and you improve together, and it's a cool thing. You don't really get that with other game genres, in my opinion.
Yeah, and
That's what makes
and
fighting
what was
games
even
magical.
funnier, I feel like, is that we were in a regular fight and we were trying to teach each other stuff, and we would run out of time, and it was like winner to the other person, which was
Frankly,
even
I have
difficult.
no idea what you guys are talking about, because I could probably hand my son the controller and he could probably beat my ass in Killer Instinct just by slamming a bunch of buttons, and I'll still never understand it. I like, how did this happen?
You know, button mashers are actually really hard to play against in fighting games, because it's like they don't have any fight style. So it's really hard to fight against them, because there's
no pattern to follow.
Yeah, there's no pattern. So you have to kind of just try your best with button mashers, which, you know.
The only pattern that I see is I continuously get my ass kicked by these individuals. So I don't play fighting games anymore, because I need to have a little bit more pride than that.
Look, if we're going to talk about Disney fighting games, I remember this one time when we were in GTA 5, and this isn't a fighting game. GTA 5, fists on the beach, and Disney's like, Belle, will you stop? I'm like, dude, you just keep dying. Like, so yeah, Disney and fighting games, not a thing.
Disney kept dying?
He's on mute right now. He's replying.
I'm dead or alive.
Messages or something like that. So let's take this opportunity to completely take over. So, Panda.
Yes.
Tell us, what is it that got you into video games? Go now. You got 2 minutes.
Okay. Wow. So my very first video game that I ever played, and my cat just knocked over the trash can. Was Splinter Cell on the original Xbox, and that's when I fell in love with anything like sneaky shooters and stuff like that. And then I went on, well, actually it was probably Super Mario, but that was when I was like 5 and I had no idea what I was doing. But
which is more than most 30-year-olds can say.
And then I went on to Halo, and I went into more shooters and stuff like that. But what really got me into, like, this is what I want to do, it was Call of Duty.
I knew I loved you for some reason, Panda. I've just never been able to put my finger on it.
It was Call of Duty, and I got really competitive with Call of Duty, and then it went on to fighting games like Dead or Alive. And I've always loved to watch people play video games like Silent Hill, because at the time I couldn't play it whenever Silent Hill was getting big. So I and then when I finally could play, I went through and bought, you know, all the Silent Hills and played them all, and I loved it. So then that's when, you know, I continuously played until I got here. Zero invited me on to Playback Gaming, and that's when I was able to really get into it to where I am now.
Indeedy. Nice story.
You won her over at Call of Duty, in which I kind of blew up a little bit.
At that point, I'm just like, whatever else comes out of your mouth right now is golden. As long as you don't mention the words Infinite Warfare, we're sweet.
Well, listen, I wasn't one of those Call of Duty players where that's how I got into games. I was into games before that, and then Call of Duty was when I first really played multiplayer online. And it was like a whole new thing for me because I was playing against players all over the world. And that's what I thought was really cool.
Right.
And then whenever Dead or Alive I got my eyes open to that you could go and play competitively on Dead or Alive with people around the world. That's when I was like, okay, this is really cool. And then I learned every person's move list, every character's move list on the entire game, so that way if somebody picked a certain character, I could counter them with another.
And there's something super satisfying, right? About being that one female in the lobby as well, like particularly because we seem to just be put in this category where we don't seem to be, it's a female, we don't have to worry about her, and you're like the driving force in that lobby, and they're like, oh god damn.
Yeah, every day that I logged on, I had friends who played that game, and they would ask me to go into tag team competitions with them. So that's whenever it became more real. Like, hey, I'm kind of like, the minute I would log on, it was like I was demanded to be on a tag team, and I would get harassed if I wasn't going to be on there, if I was playing something else, which I didn't really want to.
Play what you want to play, Panda. Don't you know about everyone else?
Right. But I mean, I didn't complain about it because I was into Dead or Alive at the time, and then it turned to Soul Calibur, and I learned everybody's moves on Soul Calibur too. And I actually went back to Soul Calibur recently, and I was going back on the tower, and I was like, I need to brush up on some of this stuff, but yeah, so I mean, that's my story. I mean, I'm not one of those gamers that got into it just because of Call of Duty. I got into it from like day one Splinter Cell.
You had me Call of Duty, honey.
Had her at Call of Duty. I knew that she would have her at Call of Duty. So we have a latecomer, a Mr. Samuel, Mr. Editor-in-Chief. Go ahead and let you introduce yourself.
I beg your fucking pardon. Assistant Editor-in-Chief. When the hell did he see this?
Like over here at After Hours, we just like promoting people, no matter the company.
Let me restart this. We would like to welcome to the podcast the Assistant Editor-in-Chief at Real Game Media, Mr. Samuel Tolbert. Introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, how's it going? As Bella has enthusiastically described, I am the Assistant Editor-in-Chief for Real Game Media.
Say that again.
Assistant, and we can place as much emphasis on that word you need me to get a bullhorn.
We will.
Shout it from the street corner.
I feel like I need to get like a ringtone. It's like,
you can take yourself wherever you want to take. The sky is the limit, Sam. I'm just gonna tell you that. Don't let dark shadows, overshadow over top of you.
I'm gonna get an actual ringtone when my phone rings and be like, the Assistant Editor-in-Chief is calling you. The Assistant Editor-in-Chief is calling you.
That actually sounds like a pretty fucking awesome ringtone. I hope that actually happens.
I would be willing to bet it exists. You can find it somewhere.
So for Sam, you don't know some of these people. So Panda is one of the writers at Playback Gaming, which is now part of the Inner Circle Network. And
we've met.
AKA Lord Sleet is Iron Lord's podcast, also now part of the Inner Circle podcast. Dizzy. I'm pretty sure you know Dizzy. I'm pretty sure everybody knows Dizzy by now.
I've met everybody here.
There we go.
So how's everybody doing?
Bella's just
We're
over here
good, we're
acting
good.
all last year. I don't understand.
Oh,
It
I
has
just
to
figured
be
you
the
had the
dogs
same
and
slay
cats
last year as
Sims
what you have
DLC.
now. You know what I mean? I figured you ain't got up to speed with shit and stuff. My bad.
I'm good, though.
Fantastic.
Thanks for asking.
So we were just grading what we thought of Gamescom.
Oh, good Lord. All
So
right,
if
everybody,
you-
sit back for a good 5 minutes. Sam, you got the table.
Okay, so where are my thoughts? It was E3 remastered, basically. There was a little bit of
Thank you.
polish. There was a little bit more sleek pizzazz. There was a couple of new announcements, but ultimately there was nothing that couldn't have been covered over Xbox Wire announcements or some YouTube clips or something like that.
That's
It was
essentially
honestly
what
a
I
waste
thought.
of a 90-minute show.
Thank you. I am glad somebody is on my side of the fence of this. If I were going to give a grade to this, it would be 2.5 ratings out of 7. So a little bit of shock, but not enough there. Okay. What would you give it?
Maybe 4.5 if I'm being out of 10 if I'm being really generous. Like obviously, so I actually was really happy about the announcement of Jurassic World Extinction because city building games are actually extremely fun, and it's been forever since I was able to enjoy Operation Genesis, back in the PS2, early Xbox days. So I'm all on board with that. I'm also all on board with that colonizing Mars game. But those are two very small games over the
And very
course of a
niche.
90-minute show. And the only other thing they really had was the pre-order announcement, which could have been done at any time via Twitter, YouTube, Xbox Wire, anything like that, or Major Nelson's blog even. And then let's see, what else was there? There were some bundle announcements, but again, they've not been stopped from doing bundle announcements by YouTube or simple Twitter updates before, so I'm not sure why it demanded a Gamescom show. And even then, what makes it even funnier is I would argue the biggest announcement from Gamescom wasn't even in that 90-minute show. It was the announcement of Age of Empires 4 the day after. That was the biggest announcement by far, and it wasn't even included in their first show.
Sam, you won me over with the whole bundle thing because I think that
I kind of
Dale
want to
didn't
throw
I
out
argue
there,
that?
though, not to cut you off. I feel like the exclusivity, whether it be timed to PUBG, was a really big deal, though. I really
it was, but it was there at
that was a
E3.
huge deal.
That was the big blowout at E3. I mean, that they were going to have that as a timed exclusive or a launch exclusive.
But if you read,
whichever marketing spiel you want to use.
I agree
They
with
didn't
you,
need to
but if you
rehash
read
that.
what Bluehole has been saying, they didn't have that deal or that relationship at E3 at the time, so they couldn't
But
have
they
made the
did.
announcement then anyway.
They actually did because they said it was a console launch exclusive right there. I should know I was about 20 feet from the screen when it came up, sitting there. So the fact that Microsoft is publishing is nice because it gives their developers, some more resources, access to Microsoft's engineers, but ultimately it doesn't change what they were doing before.
I don't know, man. I feel like it was a big deal. I really, really do.
If it was a big deal in terms of them having secured it as a full exclusive, never coming to PlayStation, then in that case I would agree with you, but it wasn't. And we know it wasn't because if it was a full exclusive, Microsoft would be screaming that from the rooftops.
Oh, absolutely. Using the language that they use with Rise of the Tomb Raider probably definitely wasn't the smartest decision to use. And, because they came out there and they used very confusing language that, I mean, what publication is not hounding Blue Isle or Microsoft? Like, I don't know if you've read the interview with Eurogamer with Mike Ibarra, where they essentially were just asking over and over and over and over and over, is this going to be an exclusive or will this be timed?
Yes, I
What's
saw
going
that.
on with that?
And I saw
you can definitely tell that they're trying to get at Pride.
Yeah, and I don't want to cut you off here, but I really enjoyed Mike's response because you can tell that they have learned from the whole Rise of the Tomb Raider debacle and how they weren't on board there. Every single time he was asked, he simply said, "Go ask Bluehole. We're not the developers.
Mm-hmm.
Go ask Bluehole. We're the publishers. We're not the developers." And that's important for two reasons. Number one, it shows that they're shunting the responsibility on them. They're saying, "Look, we're not going to develop the game for PlayStation, but we're not going to stop them." But B, more importantly than that, it sort of puts the person asking the question into an awkward position of, okay, why are you hounding me at this point? This is an indie studio that we've partnered with, and the entire reason it's a launch exclusive is through the preview program. This wasn't even a monetary deal necessarily. It's more of an exclusivity by default.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that does show that if Bluehole wants to, they can, essentially, is essentially what they were, he was inferring at that point. But, I mean, all of it's up for debate if it will, if it won't. I mean, does
They'll
it
need to find a
matter?
new publisher, but I don't think they'd have trouble finding a new publisher if they were to bring it to PlayStation. But clearly it's not going to be for at least several months, maybe even over a year. And that marketing period is extremely important because that builds public opinion.
I think it'd be a very interesting aspect. Now that you point that out and everything, it'd be pretty interesting because if Microsoft is publishing on the Xbox and everything, and obviously they don't need a publisher for the PC because they have Steam. Steam is essentially their publisher at that point. What publisher is really going to want to pick it up for just the PlayStation?
PlayStation themselves, I would imagine.
Yeah,
given the
you would think.
Microsoft
Sony.
publishing, yeah.
All right, I'm back. Whatever Sam said, it was a lie.
I said that you're awesome.
I was afraid of this.
What were you-
Comment I made to you in chat. Does remember about the whole PUBG thing? I told you I would have preferred them, to have locked it down as a full exclusive. But I said it would be weird to have ever thought it was going to be, because we knew from the very beginning that this game was going to go into game preview, and there has yet to be a game from game preview that has been exclusive.
Absolutely.
It hasn't happened yet.
And we see that with We Happy Few.
Right.
There was a lot of, and I mean, we see that with We Happy Few. There was a lot of people for a long time that were really in the belief that when We Happy Few releases, that it was going to be a Microsoft exclusive, which it was a Microsoft exclusive for the preview program, essentially. What ended up happening, now they're going to Gearbox. Gearbox will be publishing, and they will be publishing across all of the platforms, including PlayStation 4. Which, I mean, that was announced quite a bit of time ago and everything, that would be the deal. But, I mean, you start seeing that popping out. So, like, let's take, I know that we had already talked about Conan earlier and everything. Right now, Conan is under an exclusive for Microsoft or for Xbox because it's in the game preview program. If Sony really wants it,
out on Sony, you best believe it is.
Oh well, yeah, absolutely, definitely. After launch, it will be. But if they feel that they really need to have it, like we look at Ark. Ark is a perfect example. A lot of people play that game across all of the platforms. Sony was not happy to be left out in the dirt, but they didn't offer a preview program, and so they had to make an exception for Wildcard Studio to be able to bring that out there. And a lot of people don't realize, but they had to certify Ark under a pretext build saying that game is gold, meaning that the game is finished. They had to certify it in order to get that onto the PlayStation. So everything that they have right now is a certified released game under the pretext of what Sony would have, which is a very legal, sticky situation if certain things end up happening with the Xbox, or not the Xbox, I'm sorry, the PlayStation while they're playing the game, so on and so forth. So they have to tread the lines because anything can happen. So we look at a lot of these game preview programs, games that are out there and everything. It's not hard to fathom that a lot of them, they're going to find their way over to Sony and to PlayStation at that point. So just for for future references for a lot of individuals. So
how
for
does
sure, but I think
everybody feel
Microsoft's
about this practice though? Like, sorry to potentially half
Go
cut
ahead.
you off there, Sam. This practice of it has been a major issue, right, in social media for a long time now. This issue of what really is an actual exclusive. When a company says, "Oh, this is an exclusive title," there seems to be this expectation, which is an understandable expectation. When you say that this is an exclusive title, that means the only place you can play this game is right here. But the reality of what is exclusive no longer really exists anymore. Yeah, it's completely convoluted. It's a very, very muddy water. Exclusive doesn't really exist anymore. You know, like it, particularly where Microsoft is concerned. With they'll always hold on to Halo, they'll always hold on to Forza, they'll always hold on to Gears, but any other franchise out of that seems to be an open slather of, well, we're gonna have it as just being an Xbox only exclusive for a minute, but then we're gonna make it a part of our Play Anywhere ecosystem, and then you have this other version of exclusive, I guess, which is, well, is it exclusive to us now? We're getting it now. It's a timed exclusive. We're not going to tell you it's a timed exclusive, but it is actually a timed exclusive. And eventually you're going to be able to play it on PC. You're going to be able to play it on your mobile phone, your Vita, your PlayStation 4. Fuck it. Let's give it onto the Switch as well. You know, like I understand why people are a little bit confused about what exclusivity actually means anymore.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, all you have to do is look at the old generation. Look at with BioShock and with Mass Effect. You know, the first ones of both of those. You look on the top of the Xbox game case on both of those, says only on Xbox, and which now we know that not to be the case, because after they had to wait till the limited editions pop out, especially for Mass Effect. I think BioShock was the year after, but for Mass Effect, as soon as the limited edition or the trilogy edition went out, you know, they had to make the game for PlayStation in order to give them the trilogy package on that and everything. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't have given them.
Well, that situation's a little more complicated than that due to the change of publisher and EA acquiring BioWare.
True.
Not to mention the fact that they still couldn't legally publish a PlayStation 3 only version of the first game. It's only included in the trilogy pack or as a downloadable content. You can't buy a physical version of it.
If I'm correct, though, Silent Hill 2 and Silent Hill 3 were PlayStation exclusive, and then when they came out with the collection, they had 2 and 3 on a single disc for the Xbox as well.
Yeah, which probably would fall into that same pretext,
right?
That we were speaking of. Yeah, I mean, exclusive is definitely a sticky, muddy area. You know, it's a word that a lot of people like to hear, they like to see, but I don't think that they really understand the graphs of both the benefit and the consequences of what comes with that.
It's one of those words.
Actually, no, you guys because this is going to take me a good minute, so you get in there.
No, I was just saying, it's one of those words and one of those phrases that gets tossed around nowadays, and this is something we see in all kinds of media, not just like gaming related and all kinds of stuff, where it's just used so much to draw and garner attention that it loses all meaning. You know, it's just the word exclusive for video games has just gotten to that point, and that's what it is. So confusion amongst fans and gamers is going to happen. That's unfortunately a side effect.
Absolutely. Does anybody else want to get in on this before I jump up on my soapbox?
She's about to wind up, it sounds like. So
sure,
if you got something to say, you might as well say it now.
I'll just get this in really quick then. People think this is a recent development, and it really isn't. Even if you look at, like was just point out Silent Hill, which is or Silent Hill 2 rather, which is a much older game, or even games like Knights of the Old Republic, which were like on PC and the original Xbox only, but now you can get a version that runs on your Android phone. Just lots of things like that. Things expire, deals expire, companies acquire older studios. These things happen. So it's really not as fresh a conundrum as a lot of people think it is.
No, not at all.
Indeed. All right, so everybody comfy?
Yep. Yes, go with Bella.
Right. So, exclusivity. Here's my issue with exclusivity, and also why I feel it is a necessity. We'll start with my issue with it. My issue with exclusivity is that you will charge me, regardless of whether I buy a game on Xbox or whether I buy it on PlayStation, you will charge me the exact same amount of money while saying, however, there is a good portion of this game that you are not entitled to play because you are not playing it on the right piece of plastic Well, let's say let's have a look at
Destiny.
Let's give it like 12
Destiny,
months.
yep.
Let's give it like 12 months, right? 12 months, and then you can play it. I'm like, motherfucker, please! I just paid the exact same amount as Joe Blow standing next to me that bought the same game, but he's going to play it
For
on
the
a
same
different
price.
piece of plastic. How are you going to
Yes,
tell
ma'am.
me that you're going to charge me the same amount of money for this game as this dude standing next to me, but he gets all this extra shit that I don't get? Now, that is my main issue with exclusivity.
Oh yeah.
My second
Exclusive
biggest
content
issue-
is despicable.
I'm sorry, I gave you your opportunity. Shh.
Oh,
My second issue with exclusivity is this muddy water around, well, it's exclusive to us for these few months, just for these like map packs until these map packs came out. Apart from that, you get to play everything else. And in 3 months, you get to play the map packs 1 month after this other console does. Or we're going to say that it's exclusive, but then in 6 months' time, we're going to come out and say, well, it was actually timed exclusive, and now you can actually play that on another console. Or 6 months after that, they're going to come out and go, well, you know what? The main goal always was for it to be a part of our ecosystem, and you can now go play that on your PlayStation and your PC. And it's like, what the fuck is exclusive anymore? Thing with there being a definitive line about what is and is not exclusive anymore. It's just ridiculous. They're taking this shit well too far. They're preying on the minds of people who aren't like the rest of us in this kind of area, who do keep their finger on the pulse, who do follow our favorite publishers and watch for updates and listen to the main corporations and know what bullshit is going on behind the scenes, so we know what is and isn't going to be a timed exclusive and all of that. How is the average Joe Blow expected when they walk into their local GameStop to know any of that? They're not. And they see this, oh, exclusive only on Xbox, exclusive only on PlayStation. Can't play this anywhere other than your freaking 3DS. No one's going to question that, because you walk into a company or a corporation like that and you expect that what is being presented to you is what actually is. Now, the other side of that, well, I love to bring exclusivity and grade it over the coals. The other side to that is that exclusivity is kind of important to a degree, that we do not want everybody just focusing on the specs of hardware. If we take exclusive titles away, if everything is available on every single platform, then we stop people from being objective about what kind of games they do and do not want to play, and it's all based on hardware. And so then there is only one company that is always going to be able to be the forefront in that argument. And then it comes down to, well, after that, what is my next most important thing? Oh, the social network. Okay, well, the social network is good on here too. What else is good on here? Oh, the sales are good on here too. So we then, I guess we inadvertently take away that competition that is so vital to making sure that we keep them all kind of climbing up the staircase to see who can get to the top the quickest, yeah? We need that competition to be there. So whilst I hate this exclusivity bullshit, it's also kind of a necessity.
Yes. That's the unfortunate truth of it.
Absolutely. I mean, aside from, like, I mean, if nothing was exclusive, I guess right now, the only thing that you would be looking at is what your preference of the way that the platform is running. Because if you look, I know back in the 90s, whenever you would play a PC game online, you had your options of places that you could play it at. Like, I know that my preference was using the Zone, the servers from there, and there was a couple of others that, you know, I just never had any success with, whereas on the Zone I had a little bit more success. I guess you would have to be looking at the Xbox platform versus the PlayStation platform, just the way that the network is set up. That's the only thing I could think of, if you didn't have exclusives, which would really suck.
Yeah.
You know, give yourself an incentive, give yourself a reason.
But the other thing,
yeah.
I guess, that would bring to light is that real focus that, say, let me not even say which platform I'm talking about here. You'll all be able to guess. So let's put it into two categories. You have one platform that has a very strong focus on a multiplayer experience, a shooter experience, and a motor kind of experience. Yeah, you have another platform that is very focused on bringing you some unconventional type of gaming, some very story driven gaming, some very individual, that immersive kind of type gaming. So we have two platforms that, whilst have these same multiplats available on them, you take those away and you strip it back to something that is actually more of a single player immersive based experience type platform, and a very multiplayer, let's shoot the shit out of stuff and get behind our cars and drive down the road at a Mach 10 kind of experience, you know? And so that's when you strip all of that back, that's kind of what you're left with, both those platforms. And that gives you, if you're somebody who's on the fence about whether you want to go Xbox or PlayStation, that does really give you a way forward as to, well, if you take all of that away, if you take all these layers off it, and that's what's left outside of the multi-plat and the online experience, what is more important to me? That is probably how you should be making your decision about what platform you prefer to game on. Yep. But unfortunately, it's just so convoluted now with all this. Oh, our UI is better, and we've got greater timed exclusives, and you can play this DLC first. And there's so much marketing, Take your resources, people, and sink it into finishing games before you develop them and put them out the door. Like, we don't need stuff that's broken. We don't need massive day one patches. We don't need DLC coming out the wazoo. We just need games that are finished.
I don't know about you guys, but I don't think Bella's going to be eating those Pop-Tarts that are going to be loaded with Destiny content. It sounds to me like she's already decided she's above this pastry to plug into her toaster.
Okay, now here's the thing. Look. I'm not going to be there. And I mean, everybody on here knows that I was on a podcast that was Destiny-centric, right? And I still go over there now and then. I talk to the guys there and everything. But we have always said from the very beginning that year-long exclusivity between them and PlayStation it's completely egregious. And it would be the same way if it was for Microsoft, right? Because that's an exclusivity deal. Xbox won't be able to play the extra content from the first Destiny until after the second Destiny comes out. That's ridiculous.
Some bullshit. That is some bullshit. Could you imagine walking up to your local movie theater and they'll be like, show me where you got your pass from. Oh, no, I'm sorry. You can't come and see this movie for like another 6 months. You'll be like, motherfucker, please.
Exactly. I think there's like one exotic weapon, armor variants, and like strikes. I think like another strike and some other stuff that like Xbox One Destiny players aren't going to get to experience ever, because a vast majority of them are going to go to 2. And once you're on the new one, the chances of you going back a month later.
Exactly. It's like walking into a restaurant, right? You walk into a restaurant, you sit down, you're like, I'd like the T-bone steak with the mashed potatoes and some of those roasted vegetables. Oh, I'm sorry, we can't bring you mashed potatoes. What do you mean you can't bring me mashed potatoes? Look at the table over there. They're eating mashed potatoes. Oh, no, they're in the Sony section. What the fuck? Like, no.
So clearly no Pop-Tarts or no Monsters for them. So I guess all the rest of us, we can have all those unhealthy snacks and treats and everything to ourselves.
Not me.
I will stay far away from. I don't do Monster. I might be tempted into a Red Bull every so often, but coffee is my energy choice drink, and so I mean,
I'm sure you go to a coffee shop and they're like, "Oh no, you ain't getting those Arabica beans. Those are so yummy."
Believe me, let Destiny strike up a deal with Starbucks, and I will be there like a white girl holding a Frappuccino every day of the week.
Could you imagine if that kind of mentality seeps out to other things in our world, though? Like, that kind of stuff is okay to us. Somehow we seem to accept this in video games. We seem to accept that we are meant to pay the exact
really
same amount of money to not get the exact same experience. Would you stand for that if you walked into a restaurant and you're like, my $100 bill is as good as the person's next to me, and you're going to tell me that because my $100 bill got paid to me through a Microsoft Corporation instead of a Sony Corporation, that I can't have the same shit on this menu as somebody else? Would anybody stand for that? Would you put up with being able to go into a supermarket and being told, oh, well, every aisle in this supermarket is available to you, but this aisle, all this really good shit, you can come back in like 12 months and we'll allow you down that aisle? Would anybody accept that shit? Fucking hell no.
You know, that would be a very entertaining thing to say. You go to a restaurant and like, oh, well, you're on Xbox, you can have everything under this menu except for these selections right here. Those are exclusive just to the Sony guys, so they can have that.
Yeah, you flash your PSN card and you're sweet. Like, what the hell?
Yep. And then shout out to Lord Attic in the chat. Lord Attic pulls up and they hand him a child's menu for a Switch. So all love.
Yeah. You sit there in the child's menu, but while you're there, you can't get no party chat.
True enough, but at least they got puzzles and crowns. All right.
That's horrible. He's got the coloring pen.
But at the end of the day, it is a ludicrous system that is in place where you can charge people the exact same amount of money for your game, but tell them that because you don't play on a certain piece of plastic, you're not entitled to content. It's one of the most outrageous practices in video games at the moment. I'm so disgusted that it's become the norm.
It's ridiculous. But people support it, and that's the problem. And as long as it keeps on making large publishers like Activision money, they're going to keep on doing it.
And I mean, I have both consoles, right? So it should be no problem for me, yeah? I still am against it. I still think it's disgusting.
Because now you have to decide, do I want to play it on this one or that one, but I can't play it with these friends, but these friends can play it, but I won't get this content if I play it with these friends. So do I really want to play with these friends, or are they really my friends? I'm going to get on the other console.
No, I just buy the one console and request a review code on the other. So it's not a problem. I have a fundamental issue with the practice as a whole.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So this week, there's this little convention in the city of Dallas, which is located in Texas. I know that it can be geographically challenging. Close, very close. You were almost on track because there will be guns there. They just happen to be virtual. Look, you can shoot all the shit you want in Quake Champions, as well as the new Wolfenstein show or game that they're going to have there, and a plethora of other things that they're probably going to be showing off at QuakeCon. QuakeCon 2017.
You said Wolfenstein show. You probably just gave Anchorman a heart attack.
Right? Hard on for a Wolfenstein show for him. Yeah, that's. I won't be attending this year. I stupidly planned my vacations right around the week of QuakeCon, not realizing that that's what I had done.
You don't play Quake anyway. You're good.
I take offense to that. I had Quake and Quake 2 on the Nintendo 64. Thank you very much. All right.
We're not talking 20 years ago, son.
You're right. I don't play Quake Champions. I'm not even interested in that. It's it's past its prime. I don't understand why they're still making those kind of arena games anymore. Then again, I probably wouldn't want to be competing with Overwatch at this stage either. But yeah, Panda, are you going to be attending this year?
I unfortunately am not.
You are not as well. I do know that we have Fame as well as Nicodemus. They will definitely be attending, and you'll be able to see all the content that they bring to you on the Inner Circle Network at ticgn.com. Probably one of the biggest things that they're going to be doing this year is they're changing the venue. I know that we talked about this before. It used to be in the middle of Dallas, which is a very congested area. they are moving it to another city that is right by it. It's actually just right next to where the old Cowboy Stadium used to be before they blew that one apart and then built Jerry World. So yeah, it's going to be in a new location. It's actually in a really nice part of the whole Dallas-Fort Worth area. So that should be very nice for everybody attending. Bethesda always goes all out. Hopefully we get a lot of new information. I was actually just thinking the other day, when was the last time we heard anything about Battlecry? Any big news for Battlecry?
I have no idea. I just zoned out for the last 30 seconds while you're talking about QuakeCon.
From Battlefront?
Not Battlefront, Battlecry.
Battlecry?
Do you not remember Battlecry, the MOBA that Bethesda was supposed to be creating that had it kind of was being advertised around the same time as Battleborn?
Oh, Sam would know all about this.
No.
I remember it, but why would I know all about it? It's not something I took a particular interest in.
Oh, you know,
I remember
it too, but I don't.
They pretty much abandoned it, was my understanding. I mean,
that's
there was
what I was
never
assuming.
cancellation, but we never saw anything outside of that initial announcement. Wasn't that E3 2015? If I'm remembering correctly.
2015? Yeah, that sounds about right. I don't know. Dale, when did you buy Battleborn?
Oh God, last year.
And when did you become interested in Battleborn?
What was that?
When did you become interested in Battleborn?
Oh Jesus. I don't remember off the top of my head.
He lost interest the day after.
No. That game actually had story in it.
It doesn't matter because it is being beaten by Brink, which is now free to play, and it has more concurrent users than Battleborn and Lawbreakers combined.
I mean, if we're going to talk about shit that has more concurrent users than anything combined, let's talk about PUBG. Damn. They're getting some
right?
stuff.
The 8 million that they just dropped it like it was hot. Okay, that was pretty terrible for me to use.
That was
but
really
I was just about to say.
you know what? Sometimes I'm tasteful,
like it's hot.
other times
like
I'm
hot.
tacky. All
Drop
right?
Dizzy from this podcast. Like it's hot.
I do my best. All right, I do my best.
If that's your best,
yeah.
Anyway, move on.
I could do better. You're right. You are right. I told Sam earlier that the sky's the limit. We're going for Bella. All right. So yeah, Battlecry is. I agree. I think that it's pretty much been like tossed to the wayside. I have not heard anything about it. So we're probably going to see things for the Evil Within 2. Things for the next Wolfenstein. We'll definitely see. Quake Champions are going to have the tournament set up there for you.
Wouldn't surprise me if there was a teaser for the next Doom that was QuakeCon exclusive.
Do you think that they would do it this soon?
I mean, they did it with the first Doom, right? Or not the first Doom, but the 2016's Doom, right? In QuakeCon 2014, they had exclusive footage that's like if you weren't there, you didn't get to see it for a whole nother year.
Yeah,
it wouldn't surprise me.
But I'm just saying, like, do you think that they would be dropping in another Doom this soon?
It fits the timetable. They wouldn't be dropping it for a while because we get an actual trailer for anyone who didn't go to QuakeCon next E3, and then it would come out the year after that if we're following the pattern the first Doom left, or the first again.
I guess I could see something more of like a major expansion being dropped for them. Maybe something to add to the other one. Did they have any DLC for the last Doom?
They did, but it was all multiplayer DLC.
And
they've overhauled all that recently with like all the DLC is now free, and they changed some of the matchmaking and the servers and whatnot.
Yeah, maybe I'm way left field with that. Phil told me that they don't care about single player games anymore, so you're right.
Phil told you that you were like up there having a conversation.
Look, I'm just repeating what I hear off the media. All right.
Yo, Uncle Phil, I know he like DMs you on the reg, right?
So QuakeCon this week, so we'll probably have more information on that. Does anybody have any last things? I know that's. Did we talk about Dragon Ball? All the Dragon Ball stuff that you wanted to talk about, Dale?
I could just do a quick recap, really, because
we don't
there was
need
just
to
too much.
recap, but if you've got something new to bring to the table, by all means.
I have something when Dale's done.
Oh, okay. Well, as far as the Dragon Ball Fighters news goes, they just released a whole bunch of information today. Android 18 and 17 as a team for characters were leaked, so was Android 16. Today they announced a new stage with new stage transitions, along with a new game mode where it is 6 people fighting all at one time. It's 2 teams of 3 people. Each person picks their character, and all 3 people are on both sides fighting all at once. So it's going to be absolute chaos on the screen. I honestly don't know how it's going to work.
All of them are going to be on the screen, or is that going to be kind of like...
Yeah, all of them are going to be on the screen at one time. No, all
I
on
saw
screen
one
at
that was
once.
shared where one team pretty much got their asses beat by the other one. But...
Oh, yeah. The normal mode is you're going to pick, your 3 characters, and you're going to tag them in and out, kind of like Marvel vs. Capcom, right?
Mm-hmm.
This game mode, to get rid of that concept, you still have your team of 3, but it's 3 separate players all playing those 3 characters on one side of the screen all at one time.
Ah, okay.
So it's going to be 6 characters on screen all at once having a big old battle.
So they're encouraging gang activity. Awesome.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what I'm saying. I don't see how that's going to work. Yeah, especially if you go online and you play that with random people. God help you. I don't know how you're going to get it done. I don't get it. But
anyway, if you want gang activity, get onto the Australian servers on GTA 5. Holy shit.
I avoid that just because of the children. I'm afraid of the children on Grand Theft Auto 5.
That's weird. That's a weird thing to say.
Have you not seen how vicious they are? I've seen the things that they share in that the Xbox things, that hashtag SOA. I don't know what the hell that means, but I know that it ain't good.
I don't know. But I'm going back to Fighters. Registration for the closed beta opened today. To sign up on PlayStation, you have to go to a website that's linked on Bandai Namco's official website. And I think registration runs from tonight until the end of the week, I want to say. For Xbox, you don't go to the website. You have to be in the Insider program, and you have to go through the Insider hub on the actual system to sign up for it, that's how they're doing it. The closed beta starts, if you get accepted, on September 16th, and it runs for, I want to say, until the 19th or the 20th, something like that. And then they're going to have an open beta in January. They haven't specified a specific day for it. And the game releases sometime in February. So those are all the dates that they've released so far.
Uh-oh.
Okay. What was that? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I don't know. I was just a peek. So, Panda, what were you wanting to talk about?
I guess it's not really like talking about something. It's just something that I have to say, because if I don't, then it just wouldn't be the same without me mentioning this wonderful human being.
Look, Aaron, we had this conversation one time, okay? One conversation. Jesus, girl.
Hideo Kojima's birthday is today, and I just wanted to wish a very happy birthday to Kojima. And that's it.
I think that's how you and I became friends, because of our love of Hideo Kojima, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, he is the man. Kojima.
See, I'm like on the opposite side of the fence, and I know that a lot of people are really upset with Cliffy B, but I would rather go hang out with Cliffy B and have a few brews with Cliffy B. So I'm on this side of the fence.
Because you live in the patron state of shooting shit.
All right. So we're gonna be wrapping everything up and everything. But before we go, Just a couple of quick announcements and everything, and kind of it was dropped in the podcast a couple of times. So After Hours is going to be going to the Inner Circle Network, and it's going to be showcased under one of their new headers, which is going to be one of their more premium because it's an adult-centric podcast. So if you were under the age of 18, I'm sorry, your parents should have approved of that. Everybody 18 and older?
18 years or less ago.
You know, most of the websites, they tell you, like, you need to be 13 or older, which is kind of interesting. So I don't think that we're going to have the 13 and older. Hopefully it says 18 and older. But we cuss, fuck shit, you know. We say bad things.
Fuck shit.
And we fuck shit up, too. So this is essentially where you're going to end up finding the podcast on there. And where a lot of us are moving. Panda has already been writing, which is awesome to see. She's over, again, on ticgn.com. What was the latest article you written, Panda?
I wrote one on the Yakuza release date, the Song of Life release date.
Okay. So, again, already writing over there. And then there's going to be a couple of things coming from Dale and myself right now. We're actually going to be working on. I really wanted to do something with Conan, but because I can't boot the game up, I can't really do much with it. So we're going to kind of jump ahead. A couple of art things that we're going to be working on for people who might be picking up the game after the game is released on the 29th of August. A couple of walkthroughs to help you get started and acclimated, especially if you've never played with a open world survivor. So definitely look forward to that. Hopefully there's a little bit of humor with it and everything. We'll see what happens and everything.
I'm sure it'll happen.
Aside from that, I do want to give a major thank you for both Samuel and Bella, the editor and the assistant editor-in-chief.
Respectively.
For definitely stopping in. One of the big things that I always I point out to everybody, especially whenever you're looking at the smaller media branches and everything, a lot of us we say a lot of the things from our hearts and our chests because we don't like a lot of that convoluted bullshit that you're going to get somewhere else, where they're going to be telling you about something and then you see an advertisement for something that is the opposite thing of what they are telling you right there next to it. And you see little things like that all the time and everything. So when you aren't at TICGN, make sure you are going over to the Real Games Media. I'm going to let Bella kind of like take the floor for that and kind of share all that out.
Oh, well, thank you, Dizzy. So Real Game Media, as opposed to Real Games Media, is www.realgamemedia.com. Look, the reason that you would want to come and check us out is that we love what we do. Like we live and breathe video games. It is in our blood.
Yep.
We say it how we feel it. We have a consistent way of putting that information out there for you. And we will make sure that if there is any information that you need that you hit us up about, we will find it for you. We are all about making sure that we promote ourselves into the community as a safe place for anybody who just wants to come and talk about games, meet fellow gamers that are similar-minded. This is a place that you can come and do it at. So just come hit us up. We're here. We want to talk games. We play a shit ton of games. We live and we breathe it.
Do you have anything to add to
endorse that
that?
statement 100%.
Okay, he beat me to it. So yeah, definitely check that out. The other thing that we're announcing is also for the fall season for After Hours, we are going to be moving the show. Normally we've been doing it on a Wednesday night. We are going to be moving to Thursday night at 9:30 to kind of fit a little bit with the TIC schedule as well as fit with our schedules to make it a little bit easier. We'll still be at 9:30 p.m. Central Standard Time for the air date. We may be trying to mix it up. We haven't really discussed too much further into it. We may be staying on Google Hangouts, but we may be mixing it up. And of course, you'll be able to find all of the recaps under the TICGN banner and everything, of course. So, any last words from anybody?
That's
Be good to each other. Play lots of video games.
I
Well
like
said.
pretty much.
Access is awesome.
Well said. You want to give your go ahead and give your outros?
Well, I'll let the ladies go first. Manners.
All right, Dizzy, you're up.
She did
I
not
almost
hesitate.
feel offended because I feel like you said that only because I have a mammoth as my logo. And that hurts.
She's got a lovely hair.
So nobody's.
Nobody's
It's
going.
like
I'll
everybody's
let the
standing
guests-
at a standstill.
I'll let the guests go first.
All right, well, I think we pretty much just did our whole our DM spiel thing. You know where to find us, www.realgamemedia.com, at Real Game Media on Twitter, where we have collectively about 50,000 different members across our different Facebook pages. So if you have a game in specific that you're looking to connect with people, hit us up through our Twitter account or on our website and let us know who you're trying to connect with. We'll pop you into those groups so you can connect with other like-minded gamers. We're also affiliated with Game Bouts now, which is the newest and biggest driving force in the MLG scene. So if you have a clan and you're looking to compete, hook you up. We also are now affiliated with Custom Controllers. So if you are looking to have the most beautiful, sleekest controller that you could ever imagine, again, hit us up. We can hook you up. I'm out.
Sam.
Well said. A repeat of everything she just said, with the addition that please be good to each other. Gaming gets oftentimes, especially now in the media, a bad rap when it comes to harassment or doxing or things like that. Spread love and kindness. Be good to each other.
Very well
We love you all.
And as always, I'm Panda. I was told that I needed a longer outro on another podcast.
You can tell people that they might catch us streaming more on Mixer because we are playing
Yes.
fighting games now.
Yes, you can watch me kick Zero's ass and DOA on Mixer.
It's a sight to see. Sometimes
Here's
he
what I think
tries. I have heard him whimper.
Here's what your exit should be, Panda. I'm Panda. I am a mother mean fucking bitch up in these fighting streets. You can come at me, you can find me, you're dead or alive. Here's my gamer tag. This is my boyfriend. I kick his ass too.
SWAT doesn't know anything about fighting games, but
He's just sitting there with a state of confusion, like, what happened? What did I do?
it was so funny. The
It's
first,
like, oh my god, there's two of them now.
the very first time
gagging
I played
together and
played
stuff.
on DOA, he goes, "My God, woman," and I was like, "Yeah." But anyway, I'm Panda. I guess there's a new hashtag going around. Hashtag more Panda. I guess I haven't spoken up a lot, which I kind of understand. I'll try harder. But yeah, you can follow me on Twitter.
That's not what I'm getting at when I say
Handle.
hashtag vote Panda, but I don't know. It's not you. It's not you, Panda.
This is not the
I'm
right
so
after
confused.
hours. This is not the right after hours.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. Anyway, you can follow me on Twitter, FSPanda FTW or Fun Size Panda for the win. Same thing on Xbox. Yeah, that's what I got.
All right. As usual, I'm just Lord Zero ILP. I'm the same on Mixer. Feel free to follow me on Twitter. Same handle everywhere. Xbox 2. I'm hoping to stream more Panda, have her beat my ass on DOA, and play more Injustice. And I plan on streaming more in general. Hopefully,
He needs to say
some
kick my
fighters.
ass on Injustice.
Nah, I'm not gonna do that.
I gotta get him into a lobby with some of my clan on Injustice. Let's see how good you are, boy.
But I do plan on streaming a whole lot more, hopefully soon. So, and I am going to be writing for Tick soon. I just been dealing with some personal problems. Not really problems. I've just been in the middle of moving things around, you know,
It's gonna be
and
fine.
figuring out
As
the
somebody
schedule.
who is an editor-in-chief and used to dealing with writers on any network, Kevin, you can back me up on this. Yes, all our writers, all our problems are all busy. They all got shit going on. This is a fucking recurring theme.
Oh yeah.
Huh?
It's a recurring theme. Everybody always got shit going on. You'll get back to writing when you feel it, and you'll be good.
Yeah, my first articles that I'm planning on doing a walkthrough series for the Record Definitive Edition once that comes out. And then I'm gonna probably follow up and revisit my fighting game roundups that I have been doing, which are just general, you know, overall news for the fighting games out right now, and DLCs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, nice.
Righto. And of course, you can find me at Twitter as well as YouTube. Because you should already be here if you're already watching this. And if not, then I don't know how the hell you're watching this. So, thank y'all once again. We will check y'all next time. We're out. Peace.